Good evening. In today's segment, we delve into the complex legacy of President Donald Trump's history with race-related controversies and examine how it continues to influence American society today. Donald Trump's encounters with allegations of racism date back several decades. In the 1970s, the federal government sued Trump and his father for allegedly discriminating against black applicants in their rental properties. Although they settled without admitting guilt, the case highlighted concerns about discriminatory practices. In 1989, Trump took out full-page newspaper ads calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, a group of black and Latino teenagers wrongfully accused of assaulting a jogger. Even after their exoneration in 2002, Trump maintained their guilt, leading to a defamation lawsuit in 2024. Throughout his political career, Trump's rhetoric has often been criticized for perpetuating racial divisions. Analyses of his rallies and speeches reveal a pattern of demonizing minority groups, which many argue has emboldened racist behaviors among his supporters. Policy decisions during his administration further reflect these controversies. The Brookings Institution notes that Trump's support often stems from racist and sexist beliefs, and that his election emboldened Americans to engage in racist behavior. In his current term, President Trump has intensified actions that critics argue undermine diversity and inclusion. A recent executive order halted federal diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives, leading to the suspension of Air Force courses on the Tuskegee Airmen, the first black military aviators in the U.S. These moves have sparked significant concern among civil rights advocates, who argue that dismantling DEI programs ignores systemic inequities and perpetuates structural racism. President Trump's history with race-related controversies continues to cast a long shadow over his policies and rhetoric. As his administration advances initiatives that critics argue exacerbate racial tensions, the nation remains deeply divided on issues of race and equality. The enduring impact of his actions underscores the importance of ongoing dialogue and advocacy to address systemic racism in America. To provide further insight, we are joined by Dr. Emily Carter, a professor of sociology specializing in race relations, and Marcus Hayes, a civil rights advocate. Dr. Carter, let's begin with you. Based on your research, how would you say President Trump's historical statements and policies have influenced racial discourse in America today?
Thank you. President Trump's rhetoric and policies have had a significant ripple effect. His use of divisive language often normalizes the expression of racially charged views in public spaces. This normalization has contributed to an increase in reported hate crimes and a wider acceptance of nationalist ideologies. Additionally, his administration's rollback of DEI initiatives has sent a clear message that efforts to address systemic racism are not a priority, which can erode progress made over decades.
Marcus, as someone on the front lines of civil rights advocacy, what have you observed in terms of community response to these policies?
Thanks for having me. Many communities of color feel directly targeted by the administration's actions. For example, the dismantling of DEI programs isn't just symbolic, it has real-world consequences, particularly for marginalized groups seeking opportunities in education and the workplace. However, it's also worth noting that these policies have mobilized a new generation of activists. We're seeing younger people step up, organize, and demand accountability in ways that are inspiring.
That's a great point, Marcus. Speaking of mobilization, there's been a marked increase in grassroots movements countering these policies. Could you elaborate on their impact? Beyond society.
Absolutely. Grassroots organizations are working tirelessly to fill the gaps left by federal rollbacks. For instance, we've seen local initiatives offering training programs, scholarships, and community support for underrepresented groups. Social media has been a powerful tool in amplifying these efforts, ensuring that even in the face of systemic challenges, the fight for equity continues.
How could these controversies shape the upcoming elections and the broader political landscape? Political analysts suggest that Trump's polarizing history could deepen partisan divides, energizing both his supporters and his opposition. For Democrats, this may mean increased turnout from minority voters and progressive allies. On the other hand, Trump's base has consistently rallied around his messaging, seeing it as a defense of traditional American values. This polarization underscores the stakes of the 2028 elections as the country grapples with defining its identity in an era of heightened awareness around racial justice. As we've seen, the legacy of President Donald Trump's history with race-related issues is far-reaching, touching every facet of American life, from public policy and grassroots activism to political campaigns and everyday discourse. Regardless of where one stands on the political spectrum, it's clear that these matters will continue to be at the forefront of national dialogue for years to come. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for more in-depth reporting and analysis. Up next, a look at innovative solutions to address housing disparities in America. Don't go away.